So you're called the People's Imam, is that right, Faheem?
I heard it tossed around sometimes. Yeah, but that's true.
One of the things that I've admired about you that I've seen like on social media and stuff is like you're real quick to confront the police and just start filming them.
Yeah, yeah. I can't. I have to say, to be honest, it's liberating for me, man, because I've been on the other side where where they rightfully would bust my head. I mean, because of what I was involved in. Allah brought me through that. So to be like a upright citizen, man, I had to say it's kind of I get a kick out of it. To be able to tell the policeman to move, oh man, it's like it's like better than it's like ecstasy, man. Mashallah. But it's also not to really harass the police, but just to kind of show people in our city like what has happened and how the police has been here as like a military presence, man. To kind of go right into our topic. We good or?
Yep.
Because this whole thing since the George Floyd case, they've been touting this Camden police reform as like the national model, and that's really not what happened. Because before this really started getting any notoriety, before that in like 2010, they like kind of dismantled the local Camden police, and they laid off about a third of the officers. And so some of the local people now looking at it, they said that this is kind of engineered to how to do it how they've done today. So they laid off the officers because, in Camden, you have Camden City and you have Camden County. So Camden City is in the hood, and then the surrounding areas is like the county. So when it's Christie, when they did the state takeover, they kind of like laid off all of the local police officers because they had a union. They had a lot of things. So they bypassed all of that, then brought in all of these other police officers, and then it was just like most of them, like was increasing number of young guys, white guys. And then like they started off with, like knocking on the doors and tried to this phony kind of community policing to went to like this whole, like, about the broken windows theory, trying to, curtail every little minor offense because they saying it will lead to, great offenses. So from that time, like 2012 to 2014, it reached its height in Camden where they had so many reports about police aggression, and in 2014, there was one case where the police had, beat up a young man like really bad, and they tried to sweep it under the rug, and on our side, the people who live here, they didn't make the news, but a couple of those police got rocked too, man. I'm sorry, man. They got rocked. I was cheering, because some of the aggression they were doing is just really uncalled for. So then, nationwide, crime was dropping in all of the in the city. So one of the arguments that many of the grassroots activists here in Camden made was like, it wasn't because you brought in more police, and that really changed the dynamic of the city. It was dropping nationwide anyway. But you reformed it, you removed all of the local people, you hired more officers and paid them less, and now they work for lower wages. And then you have people who are insensitive to the community. Now it's trying to play this nice police role, and really Camden is under mass surveillance. It's under mass surveillance. So this is why I approach the officers, because when they sitting around in our neighborhoods, they actually got, they profiling us, they scanning, they got automated license plate scanners, they taking all types of intel. They got these two big police towers downtown and some of the areas. And about a year or so ago, some of the designated areas that they're supposed to be patrolling, they had these SWAT team looking trucks. They had posted one right in front of my house, man. Like, and this thing was like making so much noise at night we couldn't even sleep. And then they capitalize on people's ignorance or fear of the police, that nobody was saying anything. So I went to the neighbors And I'm like, you know, before I said something, I was like, this don't bother you guys? I mean, I know y'all work too. Like, you know, I know you're trying to sleep at night. This thing is sounding like a busted lawnmower all night, you know, so nobody's going to say nothing. And they was like, well, you know, and people like, oh, it's the police, they're the authority. Nah, you got a right as a resident around here. So, you know, I went and I knocked on the door like, yo, man, y'all going to have to move or it's going to be a problem, man, because this is ridiculous, man. You're infringing on our rights, man. We got a right to live peacefully, you know. And, you know, just for the record, like, I'm not against the police, like curbing crime and all that. I'm against them, you know, being in our neighborhoods like occupying forces. That's my only issue. Like, if you're going to patrol the crime, do it, you know, because a few years ago, there was right up the street, man. I mean, I just missed it. A young man got gunned down at 10 o'clock in the morning. And with this heavy police presence, you know, like they came like right afterwards, and it was almost as if like they waited for it to happen. And then they didn't even observe protocol, like calling the ambulance. They tried to take him to the hospital themselves. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, that stuff is not going to make the news, but I saw with my own eyes, you know. And but this heavy police presence and mass surveillance and cameras and all this kind of stuff, that's what they're calling reform. And it hasn't reformed anything, you know. And a lot of the crime has really subsided because they are actually moving people out of the city. You know, like in our area, they call it in these more affluent neighborhoods that are outside of Camden City, we call it like moving down the highway. So people in Camden, they'll go like down the highway and they think they're better off, and they offer them like subsidized housing in these neighborhoods that normally we wouldn't be able to move in. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's all a design, you know, to move people out of Camden, because Camden is a hub, you know, between South Jersey, Philly, New York, and, you know, to make the properties here very cheap. So then like gentrification is another issue. You know, they're totally like remodeling the city, and it looks nothing like when we grew up. I grew up in the north part of town, Camden, and it was like really notorious back in the day. And I go there now and it's like almost unrecognizable, man. You know, it's like, and they're building it for college students, for people to come and live cheap and moving us out. You know, they have a grand plan with this stuff, you know, and, you know, and people in the city, you know, we for the most part, we thinking about, you know, planning for next weekend. You know, these people are planning for decades. And this is one of the arguments we have with the residents. Don't complain now because you sat back and allowed some of this stuff to happen. You know, by not voicing your opinion, by not, you know, getting involved with some of the local politics, you know. And then there's another element. We have some politicians here, they're known as the Norcross brothers. Like they got their hand on the pulse of the city, man, and, you know, buying all the politicians. And because if you recall the story, the police chief was Scott Thompson, and he was the one that was instrumental in this so-called police reform. And he actually used it as
the older skinny white guy.
Yeah. So he
put him on TV.
Yes. So he went on to another position of this place called Holtec. And so in Holtec, the Norcross, one of the senators, he's on the board of directors. So it's all connected how they, you know, got the money from the state. They put more of the money in the budget of the police, hired police at cheaper wages. So, you know, dismantled the police, the municipal police, you know, took away their union and everything and brought in all of these people. And now it's just a mess, you know, and that's what they've called reform. And they just kind of redirected everything. And for the people who live here, the answer for us was just more of a police presence, which never worked. Yeah, I mean, it is the numbers will go down and everything, but in the end, there's still this mistrust between the police and the community. And you know, and if we're not working on the mother of all this stuff, poverty, and giving people you know, opportunities for empowerment, then it's just more of the same, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, I did a little bit of just kind of research on facts about this, and I couldn't help that like every video I saw and, you know, YouTube or whatever, it all felt like propaganda from the city and from the police department. It didn't feel like very authentic, but they quote unquote abolished the police, and it says around 2012 from what I could gather.
Yeah.
And there were 67 murders in 2012, and it was considered the most dangerous city in America.
Yeah.
And they basically made a new police force from like the county police.
Yeah.
But the big problem with it is it seems more like a kind of a reform and not a real abolishment, because now they got like double the police that they had before and a bigger police presence, and they got a police union again now. So it's like,
Yeah.
what really changed?
Yeah, nothing. They just moved the old police department out and just brought in all these new people from the county, because before it used to be, you had to have a certain amount. In most cities, like, it's supposed to be people who are from the city that work there, and back in the day, the officers who patrolled, they lived around here, and so I remember when I was little, the officers would come to your house, or they see you in the street, they knew your parents' name. Yo, man, let me take you home to your mom before you get in trouble. Or they see you going in a certain route, they were able to pick you up, and they had that kind of trust. Now it's not like that. We don't even know who none of these officers are. And like we when they started patrolling, at first they started knocking on doors, and then we started asking them, well, why are you patrolling on this main strip? This is a business district. Like, there's nothing at all going on here. Like, but you guys are doubling back every time, and right down these back blocks, a few blocks over, it's like a war zone. And why you guys are not addressing it? You know what I'm saying? So, and they said we were instructed.
Who are they really protecting and serving?
Exactly. They're serving the business interests, and increased by like 70% of him putting police officers when the shows come into town. So they have it's this venue down there. They changed the name like 4 times. It was the Susquehanna Center. I think it's BBT, So, I mean, for us, we like, okay, I mean, it's like when white folks come to town, they gonna come see what's the guy, that's the old guy named that does this. They love him, man. Jimmy, I forget his name, man. But he comes to town, like Dave Matthews Band, those kind of people, So when they come to town, it's a big venue, So, okay, all right. Like, you could tell by the crowd that's coming in who's down there. So when it's a big crowd and, people come from outside of the city, okay, the police presence, all right, we already know who's going to be down there. But then when it's a rap show, like Lil Wayne came a few years ago, and the police presence was like next to nothing. So it's almost like allowed, these shows, they get a little out of order, don't have that many police there. So then you can say, okay, look at them, they're acting up. And so it gives them more leverage to say, okay, this is why we need more police. So it's a big game. But when, what's this guy's name, man? Jimmy, old guy, man. He's, he put on a good show too. I forget his name. Jimmy, it's not Jimmy Spice, not Jimmy Spicer. It'll come to me, man, but it's not that important. But and so like Scott Thompson was, beefing up security when these shows came. And then like their only answer for us in the city is increased police presence, posted up everywhere. Now they, parked on residential streets. I mean, one night, man, I came outside, it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I see a police officer just walking around like, no, I'm like, yo, man, what are you doing out here? And to be honest, he looked like he was drunk or something, man. And I didn't have my phone at the time, but he like, when I was following him, then he like rushed, like he just jetted off like to get back to his car. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing walking around here, man? Like, you have no business out here. There's nothing going on. People are asleep. Like, what the hell are you doing? And he just like took off, man. So that's the kind of stuff that's going on in our neighborhoods. It's just like they occupying us, man, watching us, and it's crazy,
Well, one of the facts that I was reading about Camden that kind of blew me away is that more than 90% of the residents are Black and Hispanic, but over half of the police force are white. So that means they don't live there. So it must be from the suburbs or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, like this is one of the problems. Like you bring all of these new officers in, and even the officers before they overhauled the police department, it was like well known that like even all like police officers, fire people, like you could just use an address in the city because they have so many they have so many abandoned properties. You just pick an address, say that you live there. Nobody really lives there. Nobody's really gonna check. So you can, because they need a certain number of residents to live in, that's supposed to be from the city, but a lot of them are not. And now it's like now they're open to the county. There's really no accountability. Anybody can come in here and be a police officer. And they're getting younger and younger. With each graduating class. And more white officers. And they're not. They say they have sensitivity training, but these guys don't. Like it's like little things in the hood you just don't do. Like you don't knock on somebody's door at 9 o'clock in the morning with a loud bang. Like, that's just, you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? These guys do that. I saw one officer one time in front of my house. My neighbor had left a car door open. So the cop knocked on my door and, I guess he was trying to find out who lived there. And I'm like, yo, man, like, why are you knocking on my door like that, man? He's like, well, I saw the door open and I didn't know what to do. Man, what kind of training have you had, man? Shut the door. Like, if you have some sensitivity training, you know that there's nothing there. Shut the door, man. I said, you don't know whose car it is, do you? He said, no. I said, all right, let me show you how to do this, man. So I went to my neighbor's door, knocked on the door, and I said, excuse me, you left your car door open. She's like, okay, thank you. Then I looked him in his eye and like, see, when you doing real police work, community work, you should already know whose car it was. As much as you be around here observing things, so-called, you should have known that was my neighbor's car. You know what I mean? And I think the last video I asked the guy, like, when are you guys going to knock up some doors? When are you going to pass out some cards? You're supposed to know who's who and what's what, and you haven't done any of that, man. But you feel you feel comfortable in parking in our parking lot so you can watch the guys over there, over there doing what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you go down there in the other spot, not here, man. So I'll be on them.
But why were they? I remember when they disbanded, and I remember, if I'm correct, my memory serves correctly, they were bringing in cops from Philly and other places on occasion or something like that. Or was it that they were bringing the fire department?
That might have been the fire department.
And so they had disbanded the police and the fire department?
Well, they actually tried to shut the fire department. They tried to decrease the fire department as well. I didn't really follow up on that, but it's just like everything to cut, the services for our people and to increase the budget in the police and all of the things that's going to serve their business interests downtown. Because, the other part is about gentrification. They want to just remake Camden, where people could come out here and live and they can, live over.
But where's the master plan for that? Because that's what I was doing. I was looking at the city planning board to see if I can find a gentrification master plan. And because that's what happened in Cleveland. In Cleveland, I found the master plan, and it was just because I was curious, and it just happened to be that the Masjid Uqba was caught in the middle of that. And if they would not have moved to be more grassroots, they could have lost everything that was around, because the city itself and the institutions that were part of it, they already had a plan laid out for it.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense. The only thing that it says here that I've seen is that it was the Republican Party that had slashed the budget, and that led to the police not having any funding or something like that, and they had to disband. But I remember it got to that point. That's why I was trying to recall memory-wise, rather than just reading the experience, that they were bringing in support from other cities, even over the bridge, which is Philadelphia, which is another state.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make sense, other than the fact that you're increasing the crime and then that allows you to incarcerate people, but it doesn't make sense that they would do that and there's no clear gentrification plan. Or is there clear gentrification? Huh?
Videos like online that was supposed to be like, showing how good the police department is now, that they have this $1 billion development plan or something on like the riverfront there. Have you heard anything about that, Faheem?
Yeah, what they're doing is all of these companies here are operating with like these enormous tax breaks. So they kind of like operate for next to nothing. And the last one that I believe that was paying taxes to the city was the Riverfront Prison. And they ended up, shutting that down. And now I think they're building like a hotel. So giving all these people these tax breaks, and somehow Norcross is his insurance company or whatever is tied into it. So he's bringing all of these people in. And people are not really paying attention. Then the other thing is, they trying to make a move to shut down the last 4 public schools that we have because they did an education reform, and then they came and opened up all of these charter schools. And the charter schools don't have the same kind of regulations as a public school. You know what I mean? Anybody can teach there. You don't even necessarily have to have a teaching license. You know what I'm saying? And so now they build these new buildings in, and then of course people who live in poverty, you see a new building, new school, okay, state of the art, there's computers, okay, I'll sign up, not knowing that they've taken the budget from the public schools, and we in this fight right now to try to stop these like last 4 public schools to be closed, man. It's just a big mess that somebody they're pimping our city, man, and I don't like being pimped.
So you're an imam out there. How do you, you're kind of like a exemplary figure, like an example that people are going to look at being an imam out there. So, when you go and you confront the police, or you film them, or you talk to them, or whatever it is that you're doing, how do you encourage other people to have that kind of bravery?
I don't know. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I do it, because to show people like, listen, there is a way that you can talk to these police without getting your head bashed in, but you got to know what you're doing, and also, like we've done some classes at the Masjid to show like how when you encounter the police, when they pull you over, when they stop you on the street, or there's a certain way that you need to deal with them, because a lot of our people, they just like, they exaggerate and they want to cuss the police out and, man, get out of here, F you, officer. No, that's not the way you do it. Don't become upset, man, because you can ignite the situation and make it worse than it was. So, I mean, I do that to show people that you can address these things, when you see these officers, out of pocket or just talking to you in a way like, it's dismissive, or you don't really matter. I'm the police here. I matter. You have to address it. So, and I mean, and like, people will get hurt when someone else sparks them. So a lot of times I'm putting my neck on the line, but sometimes for that one person who might know, it was a couple years ago, I was telling these young guys, like, listen, man, you have the right to hang around here. This is where you live. Don't, you have the right to public assembly, man. Don't let the officer just walk up to you and tell you can leave. You live here. You're a resident. You know what I mean? So then I quoted a quote. I cited something to him, and then so I left. I just try to drop something on him and keep moving, like not to preach to him. So then one of them came back, knocked on my door, but I think I was out of town this time, and my wife told me, she was like, yeah, the young kid came. He wanted to know, what was that law again? Or how do you say it? And it's like, they don't even know the basic like Bill of Rights, man. Like, so you got to go give it to them in a way that they understand. But when I heard that, it made my heart feel good, because I'm like, okay, at least they listening. But at the same time, I go to them off the radar, like, listen, man, I mean, I'm doing this, but you part of the problem too, man. Like y'all not taking care of the neighborhood. You doing this stuff. You reckless, man. You the one, like you the one to bring the police around here. Like they're around here for a purpose. You the purpose. Like, but you got to be clean, man. You know, if you
So,
you know you can't.
so Imam Faheem, this is like a conversation that we've been having. I'm still trying to wrap my head. The thing is that there's so many different development plans, or there's so many plans that are taking place which are displacing people, and then in the midst of that, people get caught up in what are the effects of those plans, whether it's a gentrification plan or whether it's like what happened in Camden, pretty much defunding the police without any real plan, and then it led to a high crime situation and it leads to more violence and so on and so forth. Getting our minds around what's happening, it takes a lot. But the discussion that we were having within the last few sessions was really, what is the role of the Muslims? That's my beef. My beef is that the Muslims now don't have a very clear understanding of what their role is or what the role of the Masjid is in the midst of all this. I know that you have an orientation because we've been seeing that throughout the years, right? But if you had the resources, and you had the human resources, and you had some of the funding, let's play that type of scenario. What would you say that our role is? Masjid, community, like what is our role in all of this? Because the Muslims are like missing, from the front lines, pretty much.
If we had the human resources and the finances, we would be doing the work that the police are doing. We wouldn't even need them, and we would need even less people, because even if the Muslims are missing in a real significant part, they still have respect and they have impact, and we've seen it, what I mean? Like, and it's on two fronts. Like, we go out in the streets and we talk to people, like, you'll see a guy, he drinking, and he'll hide his drink, or he'll hide his whatever he's smoking, and sometimes they'll give you salams, and then the other part is a lot of the Muslims in these areas, they're caught up in the stuff, man. Like in Philly and Camden and all these areas, you'll go to the drug set, and the big homie is Muslim. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, man, how do you tell him to leave it alone? But then it's like he got so much sense as a leader. Like if you go to him, be like, listen, man, tell these boys to relax. And if he tell them to relax, the stuff will stop. Now you got to work on pulling him in and be like, listen, bro, you got to think about your akhirah, man. Like you got to leave this alone some type of way, but they be so caught up. But if the Muslims have the resources, we can go after these people, man. We can, put them in programs, we can train them, and like we can be running it from top to bottom, man, like the old NOI days, but with the Sunni flavor, you know what I mean? Because they don't even have an impact like that no more. You know what I mean? I mean,
so would you propose, if we enter the national dialogue, would you propose that we start moving in that direction? Community control of police, because right now there's books that are being written, and some of them, a lot of the stuff, to be honest with you, is coming from the trans community, the transgender community. Mm-hmm. They're doing a lot of the alternative police books, and they're coming out with a lot of stuff. Actually, Dean Spade came out with a book, Mutual Aid, and to be honest with you, he himself admitted that he took some stuff straight from the Black Panther Party. Mm-hmm. The Black Panther Party mutual aid programs, whether they were feeding or policing or doing the medical services. So it's not, so they're kind of reviving it, but the issue is that people are doing it. So like if we entered this conversation, so your proposal would be community policing and addressing the issue of those who have addictions or they have some struggles. Where else do we go from there?
Another thing, man, is really getting the men involved. I had a program on the table one time and I proposed this to it was one of the mayor's aide. I said, listen, you guys are bringing these people, letting them out of jail, right? And you putting them back in these communities. It's like you're putting them back in the swamp. You know, what else they
Right.
gonna do? Like, why can't we have a program where you train these guys and they're the ones who are patrolling the schools? They're, you know, as instructional aides, crossing guards, you know, we used to have something called a safe corridor, like when kids from a certain area, you know, that this is a safe area and somebody's patrolling to make sure these kids are not fighting or anything. Like, if you're going to release them back in the community, give them something to do. But it's like, how would you let them come back and then, you know, be terrorists on the street? And we supposed to be okay with that. But we saying help them to reform, because a lot of these guys, they got sense, man. It's just misdirected, you know. And if they had an opportunity to do something right, they would. You know, I talk to a lot of these guys, man. They like, I mean, they running whole corners, man. They smart. They got finances. They got budgets. They got a staff. They got, you know, marketing strategies. You know what I mean? All of this stuff that in another world, man, these people would be CEOs and leaders and all that. But somebody marginalized them and forgot about them and left them with something that this is all they're going to be doing. Like, we should be organizing a program like that. We taking these men, we training them. You know, they're doing the work that these other people are doing. You know what I'm saying? And I think it could be done, man. You know, it's a guy. He as a nonprofit group, he asked me to be a part of it, but I was like, listen, man. He said the thing was, they wanted to work with the police, like when the curfew comes, like the police will have like a policy where they'll round up kids out past their curfew, and bring them to like a community center. And I was like, bro, this is you perpetuating the same idea. You talking about rounding up 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids? They already got a big distrust of the police. That's not going to go well. I said, and I told him, I said, the only way I'm interested in working with the police is if they bring back the police athletic league, where in 10, 15 years, our people who are from here, they are being trained to be police officers. And they will be the ones, you know, they're from here, because that makes a difference. You know, I mean, when I was hustling, man, and guys I went to school with, you know, the whole scenario, the guys you went to school with, they was like punks and stuff, man. And then they became officers. Like, you had to respect them, but we have mutual respect. You know, before they was ready to lock you up, they was like ready to cut you a break, unless it was something where they had to do it. You know what I mean? I remember clearly, man, a guy I went to school with, and we used to beef. And he saw me one day, and I was in the, you know, I wasn't Muslim at the time. I was drunk, man. Like, you know, he's like, yo, what you doing out here? And I'm like, So he picked me up, man, and took me home, you know? And like, I thank him to this day, man, because I actually was, you know, involved in something, and I almost got killed, man, you know? And like, you know, it was a stepping stone that like helped me turn my life around. So like, but those kind of people are not the police we have these days. And we need those kind of people who know the pulse of the community, who know the local stores, who know who's out here, who know all the movers and shakers. You know what I mean? Because I'm you know, we're missing this, how much power Allah has given us in being in these communities, you know, and just by stuff that we doing, following the sunnah, being kind to our neighbors and feeding people, man, and all of this stuff have a significant impact. Now, I mean, we're to the point now where they look for us, like on where our masjid is, and they come by, you got any food? You got any food? I'm like, no, you know, check back tomorrow. You know, so this weekend we got a big thing with ICNA's bringing down some stuff. And so when we put it out there, like they always ask us, like, are we gonna have any problems? No, you're not gonna have any problem. This food is gonna be gone before you even set up, more than likely. You know what I mean? We don't have those problems, and you know, I'm trying to encourage brothers and sisters, like, use the power that Allah gave us as Muslims, that people still respect us because we're different, and go engage these people, go where they at, you know, because, you know, I always hear, you know, people bring them to the masjid. Nah, you got to go where they at, man. This is a different generation. You got to go get them out the house. You got to use different kind of tactics, you know, They're not, they're not, I represent people that is not, you probably won't see them in the daytime hardly. You know what I'm saying? But if you go to them and you give them some love and some dap and some words of encouragement, you'll get a lot of support, man. You know what I'm saying? And those are kind of dudes that I'm looking for, man. Imam Yusuf, I need them goons, man. I need them reformed goons. You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of work. But those reformed goons are the only ones that can reach these youth, man. They're the only ones that can do it. Can you imagine in Chicago? I mean, I'm not familiar with the culture there, but imagine somebody that was under Larry Hoover, under the Gangster Disciples, right? Some of those dudes that's probably in jail for a long time. Imagine giving one of those guys, an opportunity to reform some of those gang members there. And you give him a stipend and he can do the work just by his presence. Imagine what kind of, we need a modern day, a spook who sat by the door, man,
I think that's what made Malcolm X so successful.
Yeah. You go to where the people at, man. Like, I mean, there's some guys right now, and I told this to many of these nonprofit groups. I know some guys right now on the street. If these guys had the opportunity, they ain't had to worry about working, they could turn this whole city around, man. I'm talking about high-ranking Blood members, Crip members, Latin King dudes. All we got to do is get them in the room, and the right people get them in the room. And they be open, man. Like, I mean.
The one thing that I noticed about every kind of major, like, I guess, civil rights figure or group in the past, like when we think about Fred Hampton or Malcolm X or these different, they were not afraid to go to the street gangs and be like, hey, let's work together. And things got done. Yeah.
And I truly believe that still can be done, man. That still can be done. And when the right people, I mean, I know when I approach these guys, their whole thing changed, man. They be like, I know, man, listen, just come to the Masjid when you can, man, and there's no judgment, man. Everybody know who you are, but when you come in here, this is a safe place. You offer 2 rakats, we'll talk, I ain't gonna beat you down about, I'm not gonna ask you where Allah is, and I'm not gonna ask you what your minhaj, I'm just gonna show you some love, a smile. What can we do, man? And I got a few guys, alhamdulillah, they come around when they can, man, but I'm not gonna see them often. So I have to go get them sometimes, but I got their full support, but these guys, if somebody will be able to walk with them consistently and show them, listen, man, you got the power to change this around, man. You know what I mean? Because I mean, and this gang culture is so different, man. But these guys have a discipline that you only see like in the military and stuff, man. Like when you go to these big blood guys, man, and if they tell the little homie something, it's a done deal, man. It's a done deal, And we had situations where we had to intervene and we had to go to the the big homies like, listen, man, who's your man in this part of town? Can he get a control on the situation? Because this happened with this person, and this person is ready to retaliate on this person, and the only one that can stop it is you. And they be like, all right, alrighty, man, we got it. And next thing you know, it's done. Like, I mean, it's cleared up. It makes it, it's cleared up, like nothing happened. So, I mean, that stuff can be done. And a little city like this, that could be, be capitalized on by these people taking advantage of it. The people who live here can also do the same thing. I mean, it can be done, man.
So would you say that the role of the masjid is to organize the people and give them that kind of vision then and focus on reconstructing the whole, because the reality is that these discussions are taking place throughout the country. And in some places, the whole defunding thing is pushing forward. But in reality, this can maybe go like Camden. If we, it can go like Camden in some places if it's not handled correctly. My suspicion, I've looked at this in a number of different ways. My suspicion is that in some places it will go like Camden, that the idea is to get rid of the union and reduce salaries. And that's a scenario that I thought about before, and I have forgot that type of thing happened in Camden. That in some cities where the budget is major, maybe the idea is to, defund the police deconstruct the system as it is, and then bring some new, private police or lower paid police force that doesn't have the same, rank and merit system.
The police culture is what's got to go.
Listen, man, you remember back in the days had the guardian angels? Imagine the Muslims being the guardian angels.
They started something like that in New York with the Muslim patrol. They were doing something like that in imitation of what was going on in the Jewish community. The Jewish community already has that. They already have their own community police. Right. But yeah, there's no doubt that the guardian angels, they were fundamental. I think that's the first step to secure the area, the residential area that people live in. The other bigger question is what do you do for jobs and all that? But
well, another they try to bring back the guardian angels up here, man, but there wasn't no thoroughbreds in there, so they was like laughing at them, man. They got to be the right people. Like you can't have these, these guys that ain't, street smart, run up to people, man, because the fiends in the street, they'll bust you up too, man, if they're in the wrong frame of mind. But I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about just now?
We were talking about the Masjid reorganized.
This is the idea I had. Went to city council and I was like, how about if we do something like, say if you got fathers that got like a lot of arrears on child support, remove some of their arrears and make it a policy that they commit to like community service. And they were like, no, you're making people do. Listen, legislation is what a lot of people going to respect. Sometimes the moral part of, look, brother, you got to do this, man. A guy don't really want to hear that, but let his freedom be threatened. Listen, man, you can do this. If you don't do this, your parole will be violated. But if you do this, we'll knock off some of your arrears. If you go to your child's school for 2 hours a week, you're getting what you need from them. You know what I'm saying? Instead of them just letting them keep running from it because he can't afford to pay because he can't hold down a job. And then when he finally gets some type of decent pay, they snatching it from him. And a lot of these guys on the run, and they're not really deadbeat dads. They're just the system got them trapped. Make a way out for them, man. You'll see these guys develop, man. You'll see them. It'll be like almost overnight, man. I'm certain of it. But certain things like that, if it's about really fixing the neighborhood, like if a guy got $10,000 in arrears, he probably can't pay it, but make it 10,000 community hours. And part of it he's spending with his son or daughter or children, and he logs how many hours he's doing. Like he got taken to the park, he volunteered to school, he works in that safe corridor, he goes to PTA. It might seem like it's not, like from the heart, but you're getting what you need done. And imagine you got 100 fathers doing that, present in the schools. And I know firsthand when the fathers or the men are present in school, the whole dynamic changes. Because those kids that be acting up and acting tough, it changes, man. Because I already been through it. I push the pencil. Like, I've been in the schools and I want the bad ones. Yeah, I go to school, be like, where's your problem boys at? Yeah, send them down here. And I do stuff, we did back in the day. You hit them with body shots, man, all that kind of stuff. And they be like, oh, I'm gonna call my mom and dad. Okay, here's my phone. You can call me. And then kind of find out I grew up with their father. We were in jail together. And then the father be like, oh yeah, man, Faheem, give my son the phone. He get his son the phone, this whole thing changed. And next thing you know, oh, Mr. Lee, oh yeah, I'm sorry. But those kind of things, and I see these kids now, man, it's nothing but love and respect, man. And some of them, they really got their life together, man. But that engagement with them made a difference. You know what I'm saying? And it was just me and I'm at one school with just one other brother. And just imagine that we got 10 brothers at each school. I mean, Camden is not that big. So you're talking about maybe 20 schools. You got 10 brothers at each school. They get a little stipend, or their arrears are being removed from their child support, or their fines are being waived, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Or some reduced off their sentence if they're on parole or probation.
Even something as little as parking tickets, take that
Yeah,
away.
exactly. Any parking tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting what you need to be done, man. And then this stuff will turn it around, you know, because we need to turn it around. The way it's going now, it's like, you know, and I have this discussion with other imams and other black grassroots people. Like, our people are headed for extinction, man. You know, and it's a reality if we don't really take the initiative to turn this around. And Ustad Hamza, we were having this conversation before you came on about the Muslims really, you know, taking it by the horns, man. You know, the Muslims have to do it. They everywhere I go, man, they looking for us. Like, where the brothers at?
Mm-hmm.
Where the brothers at? And I remember one time we went to, it was like a school board advisory meeting, and I was able to get like 20 brothers, and I just like, listen, man, meet me down here. Well, what's going on, man? Just meet me down here. I got an issue. I got a situation. So, you know, when they hear that, it's a trigger word. So they come down there, they ready. I mean, they wasn't like, you know, strapped to them, but they just come like, you know, they think I got some drama. So they come into the school advisory meeting, and there's all these teachers and all that. But their presence, when the teachers and administrators saw them, it was like, man, you thought I would have had like 20 ambassadors down there. You know what I'm saying? So now when we get those kind of people together, there's so much that can be accomplished. But the Muslim men, you know, are not discriminating.
So what's the obstacle in all of this? Money?
Money. And in Camden, the political climate has been so corrupt, man. Like, you got all these people chasing these funding streams, man, you know, and they think that that's really the option. Like, so if we had an opportunity to do something independent of the corruption, like, we can do a lot. Because like there's one grassroots organization, it's called Rising Leaders, and I work with them on a number of occasions. But now the head guy, he got a job with the city, you know what I mean? So he's on like the mayor's council. The mayor's council is controlled by Norcross. Norcross is the enemy to us, man. You know what I'm saying? They're the enemy to us. So it's like we having a conflict of interest sometimes. But I mean, he works on the ground. But I'm like, listen, man, and we can do this. And then ego, man. You know, the ego, man. You know, you get people in the room, and everybody's trying to promote their whole idea. Like, listen, man, forget all that. Forget that I'm Muslim. Forget that you Pan-African. Forget you NOI. We have a vested interest together. Keep that as the focus.
Right.
It's not your idea, my idea. Let's put religion out of it, because my principles will come into play. You know I'm Muslim. I know you this. I know you Christian. We talking about humanity here, man. You know what I'm saying? Because
that's the problem with some of the Dawah groups, that they haven't reached that level of understanding.
Yeah.
But I think that from what you're saying, you have an outline for a plan. There's a little bit of reentry. There's a little bit of working with the youth. There's a little bit of working with the politicians. There's a little bit of community policing. There's a little bit of, you know, feeding the community. There's a little bit of grooming leaders. I think if we were able to put all those ideas together in a document and maybe try to push to get some funding for it, you know, to even if it's just like some sort of grant or some sort of funding, I think it may be possible. It may be possible to run that through Islamic Relief or something like that.
Like a business plan.
Yeah, if there's some sort of community building business plan, you know, I think that may work, because the reality is that is the biggest question that people have when you dismantle the police. What are you going to do in your community? But if you have involvement, the community itself de-escalates issues.
Yeah.
Because the community itself already does it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In different ways. That's something that's not talked about. People in the community are already de-escalating. If you live in a neighborhood where things happen, you see how people handle stuff.
Yeah. Man, we still got in the neighborhood them old ladies with the house coats that will come outside and set you straight. And I don't care, the toughest guy who ever lived will not say nothing to her. They're still around. Imagine a lady like that getting a stipend. She shut the whole block down. She'll make them sweep, she'll make them clean up, she'll make them do everything just by her presence, man. The women could do it.
So true.
Now I know why ain't no men around, because the women can do it, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's how powerful it is. With a wave of a hand, boy, you better get off that corner. And he will get off that corner.
It's true.
Yeah, man. Like it's so much stuff. We use instead of, like Camden and the other areas, instead of bypassing the people who are already here, there's so many jewels, man. Like Camden, one of the things that we say that it is a small time city with big time heart, with big city heart. They always count us as the underdogs until, like, when, we always joke with Philly, when you come across that bridge, we're going to send you back. You know what I mean? Because y'all come over here and act like you don't know where we at, like who we are. You know what I'm saying? Because we just this little, 9 square mile city, but we got the heart of any big city in the country, But at the same time, we spread love, man. You know what I mean? We just have to get over ourselves as a community. But I work with plenty of people in the past. I got flack, from other Muslims, and like for instance, there's a minister here from the Nation of Islam, and we work together. It's just hard for me to really listen to that because he tried to promote that rhetoric. I'm like, man, that's not Islam, man. Stop telling me you're working for Deen. And so but when it comes to the work, but the only thing is he's on the mayor's council, like he's under the yoke of these people, man. So it's like he's sending mixed messages. So it's like, okay, in one breath, you saying the white man's the devil, and this white man is on your top, man. He's controlling you. Like, what is it? So leave your dogma out of it. Like, let's work what's going to better the people of Camden, New Jersey, the residents who live, work, and play. That's what my concern. Of course, the Muslims specifically, but the other people in general, the people who live, that's who I work for, and who's ever willing to do that, my hand is in theirs, man,
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Muslims that are maybe not indigenous, like their immigrant background, they live maybe in the suburbs or rural communities, how can they be a help to Muslims in the inner city or an ally?
They need to give up some dough, to be honest, because one of the things that I have a problem with, and I try not to really get into it, but it's like they have adopted this mentality that they see us like poor and needy people, and their resolve is to just bring us food. Mm-hmm. And I tell them all the time, listen, people in Camden are starving. I don't care what they're telling you. You going in the hood, any hood, you're gonna get a meal. You're not starving. The only reason yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not that people not eating. The people not eating because they spending their money on something else. But you can get a meal anywhere. That's not our issue. Our issue is like providing a way for people to earn their keep in life. That's what we're looking for. So don't give us handouts, And a lot of them, they like, they come down and then they give us food and then like, okay, I did my job. So now what I do now, I make them listen. Here's the list. You got to go to these houses in these neighborhoods. Oh, no, we're too busy. No, you're not. You're not going to come down and make a horse and pony show. If you're really going to give to these people, then you need to do it. You need to be hands-on with it, because we do it all the time with next to nothing. I mean, it ain't for us at the Masjid to feed people. Like you coming down, you need to go and see who these people are, because they're not likely to see you again, but at least let them know who you are. Walk in these neighborhoods, and that's another thing.
If you're scared to walk the neighborhood, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's walk these streets, man. Let's see these people that you see on the news as somebody that's like, poor and destitute, and they deserve this or they just live like that. No, these are people that are hurting, they're in pain, and somebody that have a presence, other than what they see every day, that does something to them. And if you Muslim already, we already set the wave for you. You ain't got to worry about nobody doing that. And like some brothers I come to, they be like I had one brother one time, he came from the suburbs, so he comes to the masjid and he asked me, is my car gonna be okay? I said, bro, we live every day, and nobody steals cars around here, man. This is not, like, come on, man. Yeah. Like, why? All of our cars are here every day. Like, why would your car be the exception? Like, don't act scary, man. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, but the foreign Muslims need to just really connect with us and identify with the struggle. And don't, it's not just about giving us food or even giving us money. Let people know that you care. Let them know that somebody who is not from their place, because people in the hood are used to the people they identify with is, some type of social services, some type of law enforcement, something. Let them see somebody else to be like, listen, how are you? How's your day? What can I do for you? And there's nothing behind except genuine love for you as a person.
Yeah,
That's all.
that takes a special type of reorientation of the people.
Yeah.
So that we learn, and that's one of the reasons why I keep harping on the whole topic of community. I was like in that meditation mode, but I was listening.
You wasn't in
That's
meditation,
really,
you was falling asleep, brother. Let's
no, I
be
was
clear.
listening. I was listening the whole time. That investment in people where people care, that's what's missing. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
like what you were saying about how that police officer, he could have jammed you up, he could have locked you up, but he opted to read the law in such a way that this is the best intervention in this moment. And that's that interacting with people at that level, that's what that's what gave the nation street cred, that they were interacting with people at that level. We've lost that. Matter of fact, the Sunnis have retreated from dealing with that type of work. We're not even engaged, or we're the ones that are on the streets.
Yeah.
So the thing is to be able to retrain people in the community and change that culture while we're trying to work on other things. Work with the youth. Work on other things, and we can, like in Chicago. What I noticed from the little bit that I know about Chicago, they have gang intervention. They get paid for that. They have people that intervene. They interrupt if there's going to be a fight or this or that. But how successful that is, I don't know. But it has to come in as a full-blown package. The defunding of the police is really supposed to take money and take it from the police and put it in other areas. That's not what happened in Camden. You understand what I'm saying? That they just cut the police. It's not like they took that money and put it in another area. But then at the same time, what do we do if we don't have people that are prepared? And that's why I was asking, what is the role of the Masjid? What is the role of the community in this?
Yeah, it's complex because we have in Camden, we have 3 masjids. We have the Wharf Dean community. They like the pioneers, and they, alhamdulillah, they laid a lot of the groundwork for us. So they're our neighbors, and we hook up with them. They're involved in politics. They said a lot of the stuff that makes it easy for us, to come and do things. But they're getting older, and so like I think the youngest one there is the assistant. Man, he's 60. So they have their issues, but they're still involved. But they from what dealing with them, it's kind of like they're stuck between really, passing the buck and letting people do it how they need to do it. It's not going to be the same way you did it, but you got to let somebody do it. Somebody, because you can't do it anymore. You got to let somebody else do it. And then we have the other ones. We have the Wahhabis, who don't want to be involved in that other stuff and don't even want to be involved with Muslims unless it's, you got a prophetic minhaj or all this, and they,
the right minhaj, then we can't deal with you. Yeah,
it's like, but okay, you deal with all these other people, like, forget all that, man. Like we got a duty to take care of where we live. We can argue about that stuff all day long, and it's detrimental. But we can, if they won't even work with us as Muslims, how are they going to work with people who are, non-Muslim? And it's a dynamic here in Camden that's really killing us. I mean, and some people, they're so caught in the middle, they're scared to say anything for being ostracized or boycotted. That's how serious it is, But behind the scenes, they cheer for us and they support us. But if it comes out in the open, man, you down there with you Ahlul Bid'ah, man. So you can't. And it's a serious thing, man. But But at the same time, since they removed from being involved hands-on, then they're not really on the radar. So, but when things start to pick up, they'll join in, and alhamdulillah, ahlan wa sahlan, because it's about really moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It's about moving forward. Yeah. But that's the dynamics where we are, and now, I mean, Camden is, like I said, you got a lot of brothers, man, that's just trying to survive, man, and they doing whatever they can. And a lot of people stay away because they caught up. And then, and then we got this generation, like, is you do whatever, don't judge me, I'm doing me, YOLO and all that stuff. And they have no shame about even concealing sins, I mean? Like, this stuff is, I mean, even when we was coming up, man, you hid your stuff, you still came to the Masjid, and nobody knew what you did in your private life, unless, you got exposed by law, you know what I mean? But other than that, if you had a fitna, you kept it, you know what I mean? But now it's like, I mean, we live, you got a guy come for Fajr at 8 a.m. and think he's praying Fajr, but he's high out of his mind, on whatever. I don't know what this stuff is. When I was coming up, we smoked weed, you know what I mean? And we drank. And now it's like, I mean, I wasn't Muslim, but now it's like, but then how you deal with a person like that? He has enough sense, whatever drug he's using, that he's coming to the masjid and he know he has to pray. The timing is wrong.
He's trying.
Like, yeah, he got there's some iman there, man. That's some good iman, actually. You know what I'm saying? But like, how do you know what I mean? It's a lot to deal with, man. It's enough, man. I'm ready to go, just whatever I can fit it. That cartoon, you put the stick in the little bag at the end, put it on my shoulder, just start walking, man. But I'm in it, man. So alhamdulillah.
That's a real feeling. I think anybody who does this type of work feels.
Yeah, man. So, but I mean, the way to get together is just keep chipping at it, and then once it start taking off, people are joining. People are not going to really take the initiative to do something from the ground most of the time, but when they see it growing, they're joining in. Mashallah, But it's going to take a select few. Camden, we have a lot of challenges even with our grassroots people, both Muslim and non-Muslim. But I mean, there are some people that are still committed, So.
Yeah, I think taking these ideas, organizing them, putting them into a plan. I think that's the kind of the way forward, and then seeing if we can get funding.
Yeah.
At least pilot the concept.
Yeah.
As a historian too, when we talk about all this, I really think of like the prophetic community in Medina, and even before that in Mecca, how close knit people were. And when they did make hijrah over to Medina, one of the first things that the Prophet ﷺ did was he made like a brotherhood between people, where he would pair up someone from the Ansar, someone from the Muhajirin, and say, okay, you guys are like buddies now, and you have to take care of one another. And he did all these different pairs for all the Muhajirin with the different Ansar. And that made community get real close, and everybody knew who everybody was. Everybody took care of each other. If there was some scene or something happening, they'd be on top of it right away. And they didn't have no police force. They didn't have no prisons, and I think that's got to be the model that we always look back to. And then I also think about the Islamic conquests. When the Arabs left the Arabian Peninsula and started going to places like Egypt, where there's Copts, Persia with the Persians, they left the leadership of the communities intact. The people that they would call the Ashraf, they left them intact, and then they just kind of retrained them on how to work with the community with the new system. Like, okay, we need you to collect some taxes for the government, jizya or whatever it may be, and class, you can be left to your own stuff. And I think we need to have that attitude as Muslims, here in America too. Like, there's prominent figures in our community who might not be Muslim, but we need to be reaching out with them and working with them and developing a system that works for everybody and makes everything better for everybody.
Yeah. I think one of the things too that just being with generational like poverty and decadence, and if you read about Camden, it never when they got deindustrialized and then they had the riots in the 70s, it kind of never recovered, and so the whole concept was like the prominent people who were here, they left, because at Camden's height, like in 1950, I think it was the 50s or something, the population was 125,000 people, and it was mostly white people. It was mostly, it was Jewish, Germans, Polish, Italians, Irish, and like there was a small segment of black people. Then as it, went down, now the population is probably about 77,000, so it's not a lot of people living here. And just with the decline, there was always this concept to get out of the hood, to do something better, to live in these other areas, because it symbolized prosperity and growth and all that. And then leaving the hood just left it as it was. But now other people have realized that the hood is a gold mine, something that we were supposed to realize as a people. We just left it, in trying to pursue something else. And it wasn't really that. We moved out to these areas like in Camden. Like if you move to a city called Pensacola or Cherry Hill, it's like you've arrived. But you out there paying, living above your means and just working just to say you don't live in the hood. And there's a lot of people that, are like this,
I seen that in Chicago.
Yeah. So, and, they're from the hood, but they don't, come back. And like all of those people would have been resources had they understood that we should have stood our ground and kept, what they left for us. We, like we don't have the, and this, I always wondered this, like we are, you hear black people always say this, like we're great people. We come from kings and queens and all this and our civilization. And yeah, that's true. But you mean to tell me we don't have enough resolve right now to fix these issues that we got? Like, are we because it's some of the stuff looks like we don't know how to function, man. And I'm saying this to people who are listening. Sometimes the stuff listen, if you're a great king and you came from Africa and all this, you supposed to be able to figure something out, man. Like we're supposed to be able to put this thing in order. So that's just one of the challenges, man, but now that people have realized it's a gold mine and they manipulate the situation where they created where, they're giving people the option to leave or making it hard to stay here. Or if you're going to be here, your only option is to be policed for the residents, and people have to really figure out the game. You there?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah.
This going worldwide, man. You nodding off like that, brother. Yeah. So, but mashallah, we have a lot of work, and just I've kind of committed myself to really being on the front lines. But then there's times, like a lot of people, like someone summoned me the other day to get on the Democratic ticket, as a I forgot what it's called. And I signed some paper and I was like, all right, I'm giving it a try. But I'm like, is an issue about my background going to come up, because I was incarcerated before. And they was like, oh, no, And so I said, well, check first before I sign my name, because I'm not that kind of person where somebody's going to come and these bright lights. And, yeah, he was a convicted felon. And I don't got time for that. Like, I'm so far removed from that kind of stuff. So, like, they're like, oh, no. So the young lady that she's Muslim, so she put me on the card. So when she told them who I was, they're like, oh, yeah, we need him. And I'm like, okay, that kind of sparked me. But then I always tell these people, like, I have a whole community to run. Like, I want to work with you. But then it's like when I'm involved, then they want to put me at the head of it. And I'm just not, I got too many other things going on. So I'm trying to get brothers like, listen, man, take this over. They waiting for us. They wait for the Muslims to show up. And
Right.
all the Muslims have to do is just show up, be involved. Your presence makes a world.
But that's the thing is picking people and training them on how to be involved.
Yeah.
That's the thing is some of us, I think that is, I had a talk today about that, you know, a lot of, especially within the Black community, knowledge in the Black community had a practical angle. The Black Muslim community, you had to bring some. It wasn't just to sit there and philosophize.
Right.
A lot of the imams were there, as you know. That's what. But somewhere along the line, that shifted, and so being a Muslim became just debating on knowledge, whereas the older imams, they were like, we're constructing a community.
I noticed that.
And then it stayed stuck on the debates, and then it became more and more aggressive. You understand? Not that there wasn't problems in the past, but this became more and more aggressive to the point where people are not salaming each other. And I don't want to get into the whole sectarian thing, but you know, that created an environment where we got away from having the manpower to do what you're talking about, Imam Faheem, to have people that are ready to be able to go in these positions. Like the Water Deen community, they tried to do it, but a lot of times it was kind of more almost symbolic. You know, it wasn't full-fledged involved. Like for instance, what you see over there in Newark, you know, Newark, they have, you know, a mayor that's involved, or what you see in Mississippi, you know, with Cooperation Jackson. Those are models where people are more involved. They're more like entrenched. What happened with us is like we became apolitical and our communities got wrecked.
Yeah.
That was not the case before.
Right.
You know, and so now the thing is, how can we how can we differentiate for the people? Look, there's academic knowledge, and then there's implementation. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is not the same when we start talking about knowledge, but what we need right now is to be practical, to have people on the ground to be able to implement these things so that we can have a more vibrant community. You know, that's why, like right now, my mind is running how can we take this talk and reorganize the ideas, put it into some sort of framework, and again, pitch it and see if we can pilot it. You know what I'm saying? Pitch the idea to try to get some funding, even if it's like $10,000. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's 20,000, if we can get 50,000, 100,000, it'll be good. But we need to be able, like in some sort of like clear relationship with the Water Deen community, you know, and try to move it forward. Because if we don't, like I'm with you on the program that, you know, our situation is genocidal. You know, that's why I just pulled out of certain arenas, because our situation is genocidal and it needs to be responded to like that. It can't be responded to in any other way than a state of emergency. You know, and people have to have that sense of urgency and priority. And so like for this, like, you know, people need to see that needs to be the reality. You know what I'm saying? That we need to be on the ground and try to figure that out. There was a lot of those concepts that you had were awesome concepts that, you know, it is really, and see, we don't give each other the space. Like those ideas are extremely solution creative oriented. Like, yeah, someone that has a big child support, you know, a debt, how, you know, a child support debt can get someone locked up. Mm-hmm. And so the issue is, you know, that is an awesome idea. That is a solution to bring bodies in, to help someone out, to rebuild the community. Like, why is it that can't pass? Like, at that point, the politicians have to give us some real answers. Like, why is it that can't pass? Right. Like, explain to me, like, what is it that prevents that from passing? If we even that as just one concept, pushing that idea of getting these brothers to come back to the community and give. So we make a petition for that. We go around, we get all the signatures, we push the local councilman, you know, we hit the media side and we keep pushing, because it is a possibility it may not hit there, but another city may pick up on the idea. Yeah. Right. And that's why I think that if we're able to, bring together these ideas and organize them, I think that now we start having a Muslim dialogue that's putting forward solutions that can be used, that's not what, we're not talking solution most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of things that came out in this conversation. I was listening, though. I was listening. Sometimes I was not at all, but I was listening.
Yeah.
So no, but I think that those the key ideas that are there, I think we really, Hamza, that's what we need to backtrack. We need to backtrack. We need to make a document out of this, and get Imam Faheem to sign off on that concept, because a lot of these ideas were his, and we need to push the concept. You know what I'm saying? I know here that they're doing a lot of community policing stuff in the Chicagoland area. They have their own models. They have their own concept of defunding. They have their group. They've been pushing it for a while, and they stay on it. And to the point where there's competing ideas of what to do in policing in Chicago. And when the other model failed, and they stay on it. They, the one that's still alive, they keep pushing. They said that model failed. All right, we're coming back again, and we're pushing our model. And so I think that can happen. It's just that the brothers don't have the same energy. So I think that if we can make these dialogues where this is where we need to be, right? Everybody doesn't need to be debating this point or that point. There's a time and a space for that. But where we need to be is making sure that our communities are not completely imploding.
Yeah.
And that is, if we can just get that one concept, that's a major concept. If we can mainstream a dialogue on why is it that men that are fathers, that have child support, that why aren't they being given a chance to really rework their lives?
Yeah.
Because that's punitive. That's going to take some of these brothers right back into the carceral system.
Right.
Because they don't have any way out. You know what I mean? So I think if we could come up with a document, Sheikh Hamza, that'll be awesome. You know what I'm saying? If we can come up with a document to outline some of these ideas, and then you guys in Minnesota, you have your own concepts that are running over there in terms of, policing and community organizing and all of that. I think the difference here would be that it's coming out of a Muslim think tank type of orientation.
Yeah, that's really kind of my impetus behind all of this, is to have like a Muslim think tank to, talk about these ideas from various perspectives so that we can make effective change in our communities, across the country. Because a lot of the, inner city communities across the country got a lot of the same problems.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell you, but it's not only inner cities. A lot of places have changed. A lot of these suburbs, like I'm thinking about Cleveland and the surrounding suburbs. Some of those suburbs have gone down the hole.
Yeah.
They're worse than the inner city.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Even here, like they say, like Cicero, right next to Chicago, they have something to prove. So a lot of these places are not what they used to be. But I think that that's the way to go. I don't know what you guys, think on that note, but I think mainstreaming some of these ideas are key. I know that all of them, to implement them is not that easy, but I think that if we can, push, for some of these concepts, I think that'll be great.
No, inshallah. Well, I'm in, man. Yes, we could go all night, man, but I got some things to take care of.
Okay, inshallah. I think it was a good discussion.
Okay, inshallah.
Do we got any final things, or we good, or?
I think that was the final point. I think trying to make a document out of this, and pushing some of these concepts, streamlining them, pushing them, see how we can get people, to push them on a local level where you're at, and creating a dialogue around that. I'm really impressed with the one about the child support, on how that's a way to bring people back. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, I was working on something. I'm gonna share with you. I got to touch it up though. It was some years ago, but you know you got all these grand ideas, man, and know where to go with it. Then it gets shelved, But I was working on something a few years ago, so I'll share with you, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Okay.
All right,
well, brothers, it was a pleasure and honor, man, to dialogue with you, brothers, man. I appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good struggle and the good fight, man. Allah who's spent with the island, increase both of you and all good and raise your ranks. Ameen.
Ameen.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.